Hi, I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is a slice of New York. For decades, one man has been a constant presence in the ever-changing landscape of New York's Meatpacking District. But Roberto Monticello is much more than just a resident. He's a storyteller, artist, guardian of history, and a neighborhood icon. Sporting his trademark red fedora and an infectious smile, he roams these streets like a true statesman, earning him the affectionate title, the Mayor of the Meatpacking District. Mr. Mayor.
Oh, hi.
All right.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you.
Long time no see.
Yeah, I know. So this is where it all started, right?
Right here.
Uh-huh.
Right
Tell
here.
me about
I
it.
was a kid, and I came, and my uncle was living here.
Uh-huh.
And I came with my mother and father. They were traveling performers, so they came to New York, and I stayed with my uncle a lot because my mother and father were always on tour.
Okay.
So that's how it happened.
Okay.
And then many years later, my friend James Gandolfini, you know him as Tony Soprano, he lived here. And I used to come around, and we used to hang out, go to pastis, and go to Florent around the corner, and that was great.
More than 50 years here, right?
Oh my God, 55 at least.
Uh-huh.
Actually, more than 55 because I was a kid when I first came here.
Has it changed a little bit since you
Day
first
and night.
arrived?
You won't believe the changes here.
Uh-huh.
Nothing is the same. And now the few meat packers left are leaving.
Uh-huh. I'm looking at the Gansevoort there.
Yeah.
That wasn't there when I
No.
first came to New York.
No. They put it up in 2004. And before that, it was an empty lot, and we used to play softball there.
What about all these people? There have to be more people than when you first arrived.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. Well, the people here were not what you call regular citizens.
The neighborhood has certainly changed.
Oh, my friend, how you doing? How you doing? Oh, everything okay?
Everything great.
All right, all right.
Where sex workers once strolled the blocks, there are new businesses like Gucci. A weed and wellness shop will soon occupy an old standby for club goers looking to extend late nights. So this used to kind of be the center of your universe a bit here. This is where Florent used to be, the kind of a diner, restaurant sort of thing.
It was everything, that you can imagine at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And that's what everybody used to come to.
Uh-huh. Tell me about it.
Well, it was open. I mean, nothing was stopped. So the two people started having sex in the back, people would just keep eating. And that basement, it was insane. You know what I mean? The basement was like, oh my God. Everything illegal was going on.
Roberto says Florent was also a place where he and James Gandolfini used to hang out.
We had to come here, have coffee, sit down. You know what I mean? And people did not bother him there. Some people knew who he was, of course. I mean, and they would look at him, but nobody will go to him. And he loved that.
We'll have more on their friendship in a bit, but some of the changes in the area are startling. The Whitney Museum of American Art now stands where a lot of the shady dealings took place, from sex work to mob rub-outs by the river, where the phrase sleeping with the fishes was real.
You put it in a movie and people will say, it's exaggeration. There was no exaggeration. I saw it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Let's go down here.
Okay, we're going down here.
The area is known for meat packers, but that's all changing to make way for the Gansevoort Square redevelopment project component of Mayor Adams' Manhattan Plan. The plan is to build housing and businesses and possibly expand the Whitney Museum and the High Line.
It's painful for me because this is my neighborhood. If you know what I mean, this is where I feel at home. I've been here forever.
Can you imagine a meatpacking district without meatpackers?
No, they might have to change the name because this is what's left. There's no more after this.
Roberto would like to see the area become more of an artist enclave with galleries and performance spaces and, of course, housing for artists. So, Roberto, when I stand here, 15th and 9th, this really kind of captures the whole change in the meatpacking area, right? I mean, you've got Google right over here, right? And the Chelsea Market here.
And Starbucks over here.
Yeah. So,
Starbucks is the big reserve roastery, you know what I mean, the biggest one in the country.
Did
So
you
everything
ever,
happens here.
I know, but did you ever think that this would look like this right at this intersection?
No. No, I never expect. I expected it to change with time.
Right.
But I didn't expect it to change that much. To the point that it, I mean, from not only 50 years ago, from 30 years ago, this is unrecognizable. If I walk here now, I say, wait, am I in the right neighborhood?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
You still love it?
Always. This is home. This is home and I'm not going anywhere.
Art plays a major role in Roberto's life. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, the mayor of the Meatpacking District will join me in the studio. We'll dig a little bit deeper into his relationship with his pal, the late actor James Gandolfini, and we'll also talk about his filmmaking and directing career. This is A Slice of New York. You met him on our walkabout through the meatpacking. Now the mayor of the Meatpacking District joins us here in the studio. Roberto, welcome.
Thank you very much.
When we walked around, you mentioned the fact that you and James were pals. Tell me a little bit about him.
Well, he was a good person, really. He was the opposite of Tony Soprano.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? I knew him first when he was a bar manager, you know, in this bar there.
How did you meet him?
I walked in, I was talking to him, he said he was an actor, and I said, well, I'm doing a play about Italians, and you were very Italian, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm half Italian, but he was Italian. So I said, come in, you know, and he came in to audition, and I said to myself, this is the bad guy. You know, it could not be better than him as a bad guy. So next thing I know, we were doing a movie, and we did a movie called Italian Movie, which did very well. I got a silver for like 9 years, you know, from it. And we ended up, you know, he asked me, where are you living now? I said, well, I live in the Meatpacking District. I have a home there since I was a little kid. And he said, oh, let me check it out. And then next thing I know, he moved to the first building where I lived, which was 838 Greenwich Street. You know what I mean? When I came to New York, my mother and father were traveling performers, so they were always on the road. But I stayed with my uncle there.
They were acrobats, right?
My father. My father was an acrobat, my mother was a flamenco dancer. And they met in Cuba, actually. They met in Cuba, and 9 months and 5 hours later, I was born. So then, but anyway, going back to the meatpacking, you know, I mean, he rented an apartment there in the first floor. First, he was in the top floor, but he didn't like being up there, so he moved to the first floor.
What was he like in real life?
He was gentle, actually. I mean, conscious of other people. We went to a club called Soho House when his kid was this big. And I never forget, he was always concerned about other people falling, whatever. I mean, he was a very good person, simply a very good person, you know what I mean? But I mean, so people, you know, stay with, you know, Tony Soprano type of thing, you know what I mean? But I mean, it goes to show you he was a very good actor. He wanted to break away from the Tony Soprano thing, from the Italian mafia thing.
Why?
because he didn't want to promote the whole thing that all Italians were mafiosi or whatever. There was a time when everybody used to, all the Italian people that I knew were walking down the street going, hey, yeah, yeah. Talking like the mafiosis, you know what I mean? But he wanted to break away and make all the kind of films.
So he was cognizant of the fact that that stereotype was out there, and even though he had been successful in playing that, he wanted to get away from it.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right. He wanted to get away from it. He didn't want to play, any more Italian, First of all, he didn't think that this movie, the TV show, was going to be successful. Because every time I would see him, he would say, "Oh, I'm doing this film in which I play an Italian mafiosi in Jersey."
Right, we're talking about The Sopranos.
The Sopranos, yeah. In Jersey, you know what I mean? But who's going to watch that? So I probably have an employment for another 6 months or a year or whatever. So I started writing a script, that made Italians in a different way. And he said, okay, keep working on that. But then another year passed, and another year passed, and he was getting paid a lot of money. So, and he was always conscious of, I'm not going to be able to work much longer.
Right.
He figured, The Sopranos ends, and that would be the end of it. You know what I mean? And he said, Roberto, make sure you have that script ready, So then one day he says to me, okay, Sopranos is really over now, and I would like to work on the script with you and do it.
Okay.
I saw it, and he loved it, and he said, okay, but the only thing is I'm going to go to Italy for 1 week with my son. The son was already about this big now, you know what I mean? And I'm going to show him where my family came from.
Right.
So, okay. I started setting up everything. I even hired some people for the film and whatnot. And then he had a girlfriend. I don't know if he was married really or not or whatever. I don't get into that part of other people. But his girlfriend calls me up in the middle of the night and says, "Oh, Roberto, you won't believe this. James is dead." I said, "What do you mean James is dead?" You know what I mean? And I said, "No, he died. I don't know if it was a heart attack or something." The guy was young, energetic, full of life, and a good person. How many people do you know like that? Right. Not many people. You know what I mean? And that was it.
Yeah, very, very sad.
That was it, very sad.
You were working on a script right before he passed, and you guys were going to do another project. Can you tell us about that project, what you were going to do?
Yeah, it was about Italians coming to New York, and the main character would be him, but he would have what's it called, those places, they have in other towns where the people go to play, games or whatever.
Oh, an arcade sort of thing?
Yeah, arcade kind of place, yeah. They call it another name, but it doesn't come to me right now. And the struggles to survive that they had. That his family, he gave me ideas. He would say, if you have a character that would be like this, and I would go home. I had a typewriter at the time. And that's how it was. And then one day I said, okay, where do I go with the script? I have everything, including 122 pages. So I showed it to him and said, okay, this is it. We're going to do it. As soon as I finish with The Sopranos. I got to milk this because I don't know what's going to happen after that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
He finished with The Sopranos, 2 or 3 years. We were ready to go out. You know what I mean? We were even preparing the sets and everything. And he dies.
Tell me what it was like, what he was like professionally when you actually worked with him on the set.
Very conscious. He would read the script I gave him. He would read it like it was like, and word by word. And then he would say the lines for his character. He would say the lines, and sometimes the lines of the other character to see how he felt, how he feel. Did he feel real? You know what I mean? But it had nothing to do with the mafia. It was all about Italians surviving in New York, and the struggle, which is what his family went through. He was from Jersey, actually. He was actually from Jersey, and he was working different clubs, whatnot, in the Meatpacking District and the Village too.
Doing what? As bar manager?
Bar manager. That's what the last job that I knew him as. Yeah, but there was nothing. Good man, good man, and you don't find everybody like that.
When you think of him, you think back on him, what is the one thing that kind of sticks out in your mind that kind of that will be the thing that you kind of remember about him?
That he seemed to care about people. We would be at the bar, We used to go to a place called Florent. Florent was actually became a famous place later,
Right.
But I mean, it was the place where everybody went. That everything illegal was going on.
Yeah.
So you could relax because everything was, something else. And we used to hang out there, and we were separate from most of the people most of the time.
Right.
Because he and me sometimes were the only straight guys. I mean, we're the only straight guys, and it was like we sit down, we'd be talking to, but Ferran was always coming over and saying hi and whatnot, and a lot of other people. I mean, it was a very good place. It was a very good.
And he handled that very well.
He handled that very well. I mean, I have to say, at the very beginning, the first couple times we went, I said, I don't know if he's gonna like this. So I said to him, "Oh, let's go to Chelsea. There's this, bar there, restaurant, whatever." And he said, "No, let's stay in the neighborhood." He lived at 838 Greenwich. I mean, so it was half a block from him, and a block and a half from me. So we used to just get together and hang out and talked about everything. Big loss. I missed him. I mean, because he was real. He never, what you call, made up things. I mean, he meet people he didn't like. He said, "Excuse me," and leave. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a lot of people would bother him. Not so much in the Meatpacking District at the time because it was still,
But just out on the street.
a party area or something.
Okay, we're going to take another break now, and when we come back, we'll talk more with the mayor of the Meatpacking District, Roberto Monticello, about his life's work, movies, theater, and what he would like to see happen in his neighborhood. This is a slice of New York. I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is a slice of New York. We've been talking to Roberto Monticello, who is affectionately called the mayor of the Meatpacking District. Roberto, you've lived in the neighborhood for decades and worked to protect it many, many times, but you've also worked to help other people as well. Tell us a little bit about your humanitarian efforts.
Well, it was very simple. I want to do things that help the world, basically. And that sounded very big, I mean, save the world. But I wanted to do things that will help, you know what I mean?
Right now, a lot of talk is around the movie Honora, okay?
Yeah.
Because it deals with trafficking.
Right.
Right? What did you think when you saw that win and that subject matter?
Well, I did a TV series in Europe about human trafficking. And then when I came to America, I thought I had something very different. And then I realized that in America, human trafficking is just as huge, and even worse. So I tried to put that in the market so people see this is happening. And I did that with all the things that I want to do.
Now, with the trafficking, though, that was pretty effective, right? What you did?
Oh yeah. A lot of the people that saw it, and I took it to people that were in the government at the time, you know what I mean, and they they say, oh my God, this is true. You know what I mean? They didn't know the scope of it.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact that you chased Nazi war criminals.
I went to South America, yeah. I went to South America with a Jewish organization, and my job was to make contact with the families of former war criminals. And they were all over South America. It was incredible. I mean, to know that all these people were living there with, I mean, and they were upper middle class, most of them, you know what I mean? And nobody cared.
They were like living a regular, good life.
Yeah, oh yeah. Their position was that the Holocaust never happened, and that nobody ever killed anybody, you know, because they were, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would simply deny it. And the kids were, you know, younger than me even, and they would not accept responsibility for anything. I mean,
Were you in danger when you did this?
A couple times, yeah. A couple times, you know. One time they showed me a gun, you know. You know, that was in Paraguay.
You also recorded human rights abuses in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah. I had a camera equipment. I had an assistant, you know, and we were running around, you know, and you know, yeah, it was very.
I go down this list. It's amazing. Hotel Rwanda.
We were in the hotel, and we would look out the window and we see people getting killed. I mean, getting killed. I mean, and with machetes, you know, getting killed. And then we would go down and find a couple survivors and try to get them, you know, some help, and not much we could do. Not much we could do. It's very frustrating because you see horrors and you cannot do much. You know, it's that type of thing, you know.
The embargo on Cuba has been something that's been very near and dear to you as well.
I used to bring medicine and other help to Cuba by boat. We would go from Tampa and go to the other end of the island, you know what I mean, where I lived as a little kid, you know.
What would you like to see happen with Cuba, though?
End the embargo, that would be number one. You end the embargo, and then you give people a chance. They're not a threat to the United States. They're not a threat. You know, I mean, these are people that if they have, the policemen, if they have guns, they don't have ammunition because they can't afford ammunition. Why? Why do this to the Cuban people?
I've been, and life is a struggle for many people in Cuba.
Oh my God, it's horrendous. The majority of people there, 12 million people, don't have anything. Their diet is horrendous because they cannot fight. They have to eat rice and beans practically every day. It's a horrendous situation and no point.
Right.
What threat could they have to the world or to the United States? It's just a politic. I don't know. I don't understand it even. Don't get me going on this because my God.
Let me take you off that then.
Yeah.
Well, I see a picture with you.
Okay.
I see a picture with you sitting down there in the meatpacking with Kendrick Lamar. What's that all about?
Oh, I knew him for a long time. I knew him before he was famous. You know, he would just go into different bars, clubs, or whatever, and to get you know, to try to get some gigs. And then one day he says to me, "Oh, guess what? I got a big gig in California, in LA. LA is California. You know, I have a big gig there. You know what I mean? You know." He goes to California, and next thing he knows, he's all over the papers and everything.
At the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, that means what I tell people, because everybody asks me, not everybody, you know, people that want to break in show business of some kind, they always say, "What do I do?" I say, "Well, persevere. Find your purpose in life and give it 100%.
How would you want people to view you?
He was always very good looking, but you know, no, I mean, I do the best I can. and I really try to do the best I can, and I would never change. You know what I mean? And if I can help anybody, I would do it.
That's going to have to do it. What an interesting conversation, a great
wow.
discussion. I want to thank our guest, the mayor of the Meatpacking District, Roberto Monticello, for showing us around his neighborhood and sharing with us some of the wonderful life stories that he has to tell. Roberto, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Gilliam. We'll see you next time on A Slice of New York.